I've had a good relationship with President Putin. I've had a good relationship with President Xi. It's about people. And I think when things straighten out, which I hope will be in the not too distant future, the meeting I want to have first is a meeting with China and a meeting with Russia on slowing down, stopping, and reducing nuclear weapons in particular, and also on not having to spend the kind of money we're all spending on weapons, military weapons generally.
I think my question is, would you have those meetings separately with each of those leaders, or would you try to bring them all together?
Both. You start off separately, and that's what was happening. I was dealing with President Putin. We had really an understanding where we were going to denuclearize. What a beautiful term that is, right? Denuclearize. What a great thing if we could do that. And we were going to, he really liked the idea, and so did I. And we had then called China, and China was very open to it.
Well, good damn afternoon, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Give me a follow on X at Green_Jericho, and make sure you give me a follow on Instagram at JGTalk2, and make sure you like and subscribe to this channel right here. So you heard it from the horse's mouth. Trump is floating the idea of meeting with China and Russia and talking about reducing our military budgets and reducing and ultimately getting rid of our nuclear weapons, because we are each other's number one threat. There aren't, many other countries who can pose a threat to us as far as nuclear capability. Are there other countries that have nukes? But yes, I don't think, who has them? Does Pakistan have them? India has some. There's other countries, the UK, but we don't got to worry about them doing shit to us. But China and Russia, they're definitely our number one threat. From a nuclear standpoint, so if we were to reduce our nuclear stockpile or get rid of them, that's cool, because hopefully we don't have to use them. Shit. Japan's like, hey, don't do it. So that would be nice. But also he mentioned cutting the budget in half, the military budget in half.
I came back and we got like the whole world is blowing up. So when we straighten it all out, then I want to have one of the first meetings I want to have is with President Xi of China, President Putin of Russia. And I want to say, let's cut our military budget in half.
Half. So what does that mean? Our military budget, I've seen multiple estimations, but let's say it's between $800 billion and $900 billion. So let's say 850. Meet in the middle. So that means 400, theoretically, $450 billion would be freed up if we cut our military budget in half. And I've said this before. I've said that we should go a year without our military budget and take that money and do something else with it. Now, of course, the military servicemen and women, yes, they need to be paid, and all the critical functions of the military. Yeah, that's not what the fuck I'm saying. But I'm talking about making bombs and tanks and planes and shit like that. We don't need it. We could take a year off. We could probably take more than 1 year off and still be miles ahead of the rest of the world. But I think if we were to take a year off from producing, the ingredients necessary to bake a war cake, then I think we would be totally fine. But to take half of that, $450 billion, what in the hell could we do with that? I've told you what we could do with $50 billion. If we just took one of the $50 billion gift baskets, one of the $50 billion edible arrangement baskets that we've been sending over to Ukraine with no fucking oversight, if we just took one of those, we could put security in every single school in America, public or private, all 139,000 of them. And I believe it would have been like $400,000 per school, something crazy. Enough to pay multiple security guards very well, some veterans, some ex-law enforcement. You think maybe some men and women who aren't able to continue the fight in their branch of service? You think they wouldn't want to come home and protect the children? Maybe some of their kids go to that school. We could do a lot of good with $450 billion. We don't need it for the military budget. We can cut that shit in half and still be way ahead of the rest of the world. Look at this shit. So we're the top three. America, China, and Russia. We're top 3 on military spending, which you probably figured that. But look at the gap in spending. So this estimate here says we spent $916 billion last year on our military budget. China came in second place with 296 billion. So that's not even a third of what we spend. Not even a third. Then you got Russia in third place with $130 billion. That's less than half of what China's doing. That's like a quarter of our budget. And then from there, it just falls off a cliff. India 79, Saudi Arabia 75, UK 74.9, Germany 66.8. Then you get it. And then check this shit out. So really, we should add that. So it should be what, 1.6 trillion, 1.7 trillion, because the Ukraine spent $64.8 billion on their military budget. And we know damn good and well that's our money. So take that $64.8 billion and add it to our $916 billion, because that's our money. Because if Ukraine had $64 billion to spend on their military last year, then you owe us an explanation and a refund. Now, I know most of it went up your nose and we can't get it back, but you better figure something out. So our $916 billion plus Ukraine 64, because you know that's our money. Then get Japan, South Korea, Italy, Australia, Canada. Look at this. Canada. Oh, hey. Oh, what a bummer, eh? What are you talking about, booty? Canada. You know how much they spend on their military budget every year? $27.2 billion. And guess how much Mexico spends? Mexico spends $11 billion a year on their military budget. Now, what do Mexico and Canada have in common? Well, I'll tell you. One of them is our neighbor to the north, and one of them is our neighbor to the south. So when you have your neighbor in the middle spending almost $1 trillion on their military, you can afford to maybe not put so much in your military budget, huh? Because you're next door to Mike Tyson in 1985 with coke around his nose in interviews. That's why you don't have to do that. Because you're next to the largest military beast, the largest military juggernaut to ever exist on this planet. So you can afford to squeak by with $11.8 billion, Mexico, or your 27.2 Canada. And is that US money or Canadian? I don't want no Canadian money. I'll just go into my Monopoly set and take that money out instead. Same thing. So yeah, they can afford to scrape together their crumbs for their military because they're next door to us. But even cutting our budget in half, we can still maintain our military and keep little bitches like Canada and Mexico safe. As they cower behind us, trembling in our shadow. Hey man, I'm all for it. I haven't heard what Pete Hegseth, the head of our Department of Defense, the defense secretary, I haven't heard what he said about it, but I imagine he's going to go right along with Trump. I think that's one of the main differences we're seeing this time with the second Trump term. And you heard what he said in that clip. He said, I came back and the whole world's blowing up. I leave for 4 years. Look at this shit. So I haven't heard what Pete Hegseth has to say exactly, but I imagine he's right in line with Trump, just like everybody else in his cabinet, just like every other position that's been confirmed so far. RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, they're all reading from the Trump hymnal, as they should. And they say that like there's something wrong with it. Oh my God, Trump hires people that do what he says. What? Obviously, these people have never been in the private sector because as a business owner, that's exactly what you want. You want employees to do what you say and to carry your message and your idea forward because you work for that company. If you want to have your own ideas, guess what? Come here. Start your own business. I know it's a radical thought. But hey, what do you think? Meet me in the comments. Are you down for cutting our military budget in half? Do you think that will leave us vulnerable and naked to our enemies? Or do you believe that, yeah, we can handle that? We can handle only spending $450 billion on the world's finest military by a country mile. If we look back behind us, we wouldn't even see China. Man, we have to get some binoculars. Oh, there they are. We can see the heat waves and shit in the horizon. Oh, there they are. There's China. I think, yeah, that's them. I'm all for it. What say you? But we in these videos, people, good gun. That's where American citizens flex that Second Amendment muscle in the face of danger. And this is no different. But you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. I'm out.
All is quiet here on East 8th Street in Anderson, but it was a very different scene early Wednesday morning when neighbors compared what happened here at this blue house to a scary movie.
There was somebody screaming, help me, let me in, please, call the police.
Amari Lewis and Caitlin Knox woke up to their doorbell ringing over and over and their neighbor desperate for help.
She was very scared and frantic. She didn't want to go to jail. She wanted to make sure her kids were okay.
The woman told her neighbors what happened minutes before.
Somebody tried to rob her. They said that, where was she and where was the money, or else they were going to start shooting.
Anderson police responded here around 1 a.m. to East 8th Street.
They had the whole street blocked off. It was big.
This area is really
it
quiet.
leads right to the police station and the jail. This is a main part of town.
The woman told police she saw a man kick in her back door to get in the house. She told officers she then went upstairs to a bedroom, got a gun, and shot and killed the suspect.
She didn't even see the guy. She just acted out of
Self-defense.
Yeah.
If anybody broke into my house, I'd done the same thing, especially with my kids in the house.